Hi guys, so we're back again with another video where I wanted to share some tips as it pertains to getting ready to go to the hospital. This is a common question I get. What should I bring to the hospital? What to expect when you get to the hospital? I will not go over a full checklist here of what to pack and bring. You can do a Google search and find a list online of different options and different things that they recommend you to bring to the hospital, and you can adjust that list to meet your needs for you and your family. So you guys can do that on your own. What I'm going to go over here is the things that a lot of people don't know or don't anticipate, or just little tricks that I wish someone had told me when I was going to the hospital for my first child. When I was having my first son, Levi, I was a nurse but not working in maternity. So there was still a lot of things I just did not know. I would strongly suggest that you go to the hospital prepared with a birth plan of some sort. And I'm going to give a huge disclaimer here. By birth plan, I do not mean a 3 or 4 page book. And why I say that is, many times as nurses, you see that when a mom comes in or a family comes in and they have a very, very extensive, long list. The truth of the matter is, most times we don't have time to read through that just to find out what you want for your birth. A birth plan should be short, it should be concise and to the point. It should go over the specific main things that maybe a lot of people may be indecisive about, that you want accomplished. That's really the gist of a birth plan. And a birth plan should be realistic. Don't go to a hospital and anticipate, I want a water birth, and this hospital doesn't have that option, or it's not a part of that facility. They don't have the resources for that. So these are some things that you want to know ahead of time. I would suggest that if you're going to come up with an extensive birth plan, this is something that you should have already discussed with your provider, whether it's your midwife or your OBGYN, your doctor, okay? So you want to, whatever it is you're bringing at the hospital, you already know what to anticipate. You already spoke with almost all of these details with your physician at your different visits, or your midwife leading up to your birthing day. So it's not something new or shocking. The only person that should be somewhat new to is the nurse maybe checking you in. But this is something that you guys have prepared for leading up. That makes a birth plan just so much more feasible to accomplish, okay? A huge tip that I have, that I use with my husband a lot, is creating a shared note. I'm a big iPhone fan, but if you have Android or whatever else is out there, find an app that you can share a note with you and your partner, whether it's your husband, boyfriend, mom, whoever's coming with you to the hospital. Why? This note should have things that are typically asked when you go to a hospital. So if you know you have a medical issue, if you know you have something that's extremely rare, you know you have severe allergies, you want to have this written out. Why is this so important? When you go get checked in, especially if you're planning to have a natural birth, if you're planning to have a hypnobirth, which is what I advocate for and teach, you want to, as much as possible, remain calm. When you have to stop every 2 seconds to answer a question, to say something, to give a suggestion, to offer a comment, to respond to something that your partner could easily respond to, you want to delegate that, because then it keeps you relaxed, it keeps you focused on you and your birth. So these are things that I remember when I was having both my boys. We had a note where my husband was aware of he knew my blood type, he knew if I had any allergies, he knew what meds he should never get. I developed a really weird reaction to a medication right before I had my second son, and he knew that don't ever let them, and it's a nausea med. I can't take that. So things like that, you want to make sure it's outlined there. When you go and get checked into the hospital, there are certain things that you should anticipate. and this is typical with almost all hospitals in the United States. Things like informed consent. They're going to ask you to sign consent. They're going to ask you to complete either a living will or healthcare surrogate at some point. They're going to ask you for some type of consent for vaginal exams to check you. They're going to ask you about your vaccination status. That's a thing now. Anticipate being asked about that. Anticipate having a COVID test done. Anticipate answering if you have traveled recently and how long and to where. Your past birth history. Did you have any special circumstance regarding your birth? Did something happen that was noteworthy, something traumatic or medical, and you want to make sure that they are aware of this? Did you have a weird reaction to an epidural or something? These are the things you're going to want to be answering. And these are the things you want your support person, whoever your support person is, to be aware of. Have a plan for what you plan to do for pain. What is your plan for pain? Are you planning to have a natural birth? And natural has a long range. Everyone kind of defines natural differently depending on who they are. So what does natural mean for you? Does it mean just vaginal, but you want an epidural? Does it mean vaginal and you want oral pain medication or IV pain medication? Does it mean you don't want any meds and you want to do a natural birth? Does it mean they're doing hypnobirthing? And with hypnobirthing, you can still do all of those things, but mentioning your method that you use to practice and prepare is also important so that the nurse who you're getting is aware of what direction you're going to move in. Do you plan to give your child vaccines? And I'm not talking about the COVID vaccine here. I'm talking about your regular vaccines that may be offered, your hepatitis B, your vitamin K, your erythromycin that goes in the eyes. These are 3 things that are offered to your child after birth. Do you plan to breastfeed? These are the questions they're going to ask you, and they're going to complete this on a form so that they can be prepared based on, what's going to happen after your birth. What else? I suggest bringing some snacks for hubby or for your partner or for mama, whoever is your person that's with you. Bring some snacks because, labor can be short or it can be a little long, so you want to be prepared for that. You may or may not be able to eat. That depends on the hospital policy. That's something that you can discuss with your provider if you're leaning more towards a certain decision that may be contrary to what the hospital typically does. You can talk to your doctor about that. If you want to eat for sure and they're saying not to eat, maybe you can talk about, if I'm doing well, can I have something light? Can I, and discuss those things. That's part of a birth plan. Nowadays, you want to bring a mask and have multiple with you in your bag. You want to bring charger. This is a common question that gets asked. Hey, do you have a charger? Does any of the other nurses have a charger for me? We usually don't have multiple chargers to lend out. We may have one that we're kind of passing around. And get some cheap sandals that you can throw away. Cheap sandals that you can shower in and throw away. Not a lot of people like to stand on the shower floor of a hospital, and that was me. Get some cheap sandals. Don't spend a lot of money on underwear. This is something that I learned. I bought all this underwear because I thought I had to go to the hospital. I needed underwear because I'm pregnant and, you have vaginal bleeding for extended period of time, especially if you had a vaginal birth. And so you don't want to ruin your nice underwear, so you buy these cheapy ones. Don't even bother with it. The hospital has these mesh ones that are amazing. You trash up every time you change your sanitary pad or every time you take a shower. And these are just some tips. There's so much more I could give, but if you have this general understanding down, I'm sure it'll be a little easier when you go in and go through the triage process at the hospital. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys have a great day.